Oh my God, y'all, I just had a thought. So I was watching this TikTok I woke up at like 2:30 this morning, just up. And I just started scrolling through TikTok and I found this young woman and she was discussing basically how neurodivergent people, I think autism and ADHD in particular, which I have both of those, we don't always see or honor or abide by the social hierarchy. Therefore, we can't like conceptualize certain things. That's why we always feel like we're on the outside. We feel isolated or left out and things of that nature. And it goes along with the social cues and the issues that we can have with social interaction, right? So boom. I'm literally walking to the car now and I'm thinking like, I logically and intellectually can see these patterns, right? That's a part of us in our brain wiring, which is a good thing. We're capable of seeing it. We just are not always able to assign meaning to it because it's bullshit. I mean, you abide by it to play the game if you want to navigate and maneuver certain environments, right? And climb or do whatever and coexist and leverage and whatever you want to do, right? But when you operate on a different frequency or you just don't move like that, it doesn't register in that way to you. So that's why like it's always been peculiar to me that I will just talk to whoever, and I will know things about them, or people will feel comfortable to divulge things with me or be personable or vulnerable, and I don't know, all kinds of things. So I'm going on a tangent, my bad, that happens too. So let me loop back. So sociology was my minor in college, and I've always been a people watcher. I've always been observant. I've always been around older people, which when you are imitating and mimicking things, because that's a natural order of learning your environment and assimilating, but also when you're neurodivergent and you're trying to recognize the patterns to figure out what the fuck is going on, because you're just like, I literally don't understand how y'all are just like all out here. Like everything can get so overwhelming sometimes. Like y'all just be acting like it's all cool, but they don't. Which is also like, it's just, there's so many tiny explosions of things going off and like synapses and connections happening. I just feel like I have observed different subcultures of people and the things that they do and the stories that they assign to things and the meaning and how it's okay and acceptable in one form or fashion if you're a part of certain segments of those social hierarchies, but how it can be completely perceived or manipulated to be something else if you're a part of a different subsect. Like, dog, I just got like, it's wild. But yeah, I've always been observing. I've always been learning. We are super over analytical, which I think also extends itself to why we're so exhausted all the time. We just don't turn our brains off. Sometimes we don't know how to, and it's possible. You just have to train yourself and keep coming back to that. And it goes along with how we can logically or intellectually understand something, but then when we experience it, the perception is different because it's the difference between book and street smarts. The context, the experience of it is not what we went over on the bulletin board. Like, you feel me? I don't know, but I'm really realizing there's so many things, that symptoms and similarities and whatever you want to call them, that overlap across so many different conditions and diagnoses, and even just people who have experienced trauma or just whatever. And it lends itself to the fact that we're all just experiencing humanity, bro. Like, that is the damn condition. Can we just like, you can also manipulate it to be what you want it to be. You just have to figure out what that is and fixate on that, right? Like, we're great at fixating. We're great at these things. We just have to flip the switch to utilize them for ourselves and not against ourselves. That's all. That's literally all it is. Like, decompress and take the pressure off. Continue to detach and observe yourself and separate yourself, right? So like, your brain is separate from your consciousness, and a lot of us already can float and have maladaptive daydreaming. I'm like spacing right now, I'm sorry. And even that, like, how the fuck did y'all not know that I was autistic? Y'all knew, y'all just ain't say shit. Anyway, and you go under the radar because it's like, oh, she's just spacey, she's just weird, she's just inquisitive. And then you add other layers of the social hierarchy. So in certain settings, it's like, oh, well, you know, she half white, so that's just that. Oh, she's half black, so that's just that. Like, oh, she's this, oh, she's that. You can always write it off to something else, and people just don't want to see things, or they're not educated enough, or just they assign the meaning. Anyway, bring it back. The human condition. Oh shit. See, I took myself off track. My bad. I was spacing out. I was talking. It'll come back to me if it's meant to. But yeah, like, we're all just assigning meaning to things and trying to figure out how to maneuver. And when you utilize your skills for yourself for good, like, you can train yourself to be whatever, to do whatever. You can decide this is the type of day I want to have. You can decide this is the type of life I want to have. Like, it's all in our choices. It's all in our choices. And we're great at that. We can think through so many things. We just sometimes need help with the actual decision making and executing, because the executive functioning is where it's like you got to tinker with it a little bit. So just keep working at it, and the more you do it, the more you practice, the more it will come. It's okay. Oh, we're separate. Our brains and our consciousness are separate, and we know that, and we float. And then people will tell you about it, make you feel bad about it, so then you'll swing to the opposite pendulum. Sorry, I'm talking real fast. We do that too. And it's like, we just have to find the balance. We're so extreme, we're so literal that, like, you tell us a thing and it's like, okay, my brain took a while, but now I'm hooked on that. So now apply that, select, apply all, right? And then there's a situation that comes up where you might need to turn the dial down a little bit. There's a gradient, there's a range, but you're having a hard time with that. Like how you have a hard time with emotional regulation and other observations and things of that nature. It's the same thing. We're learning ourselves. And so that's why it's incredibly important. Don't avoid it or ignore it if you think there's something to it, because it doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It just means you're different, and it helps you to understand yourself so you can continue to make adjustments and improvements and be yourself and your best self. And so all of us that I'm finding on the internet now, we're in our 30s being diagnosed, and that my brain is like, ping. So what is that related to? Like, what was going on geopolitically? What was going on with the food? What was going on with the vaccines? What was going on with the education at the time? Is it because we just know more about it now? Is it because we've changed the meaning and the name and the level? So more, is the spectrum wider, so we're capturing more people? Is it that we are all at a pivotal point in our lives, and Saturn's return and that type of thing, a passage where you're looking at yourself and we're digging deep and trying to find the answers? Like, what is it that's happening that all of us in our 30s are having these late diagnoses? So yeah, I'm gonna have to dig into some of that too, because there's absolutely going to be tons of stuff there with that as well. And is it a matter of the brain functioning, right? Because if our executive functioning is at a different capacity, I think we're at about the equivalent of like maybe 2/3. So chronologically, we're in our 20s. So is it that second adolescent period where we're having those aha moments and asking ourselves questions? Because I remember having moments like that, like asking myself, or logically being able to observe, I feel like I'm not as intellectually stimulated or matured as I should be right now. Like, I feel like I don't have enough going on. Or I feel like something, like, it's not that we're ignoring it. It's not that we're being arrogant or we're doing it intentionally. We are literally in here tinkering around trying to figure it the fuck out too. Help help ourselves. I had a social work class called that in undergrad, and it took me years to make that connection, which that's another autistic ass moment. You can tell us a thing and it won't click, and then one day it will click, and it's just like, oh. So and that is all we can do. We're all here to just help other people help themselves. Don't help them because you do the labor for them. They don't learn, they don't practice, they don't build the muscle, they don't have the appreciation, they don't earn it for real. But help them help themselves, which also implies that they want to and they're aware or they're ready. And it's okay, y'all. We all just moving through this shit. It's okay. Every day, get up and get at it. I know this has gone all over the place. and that happens. But hopefully you get something out of it. I'm gonna watch it back. I'm gonna get something out of it. We're gonna figure this out. Like, figuring this out initially felt scary and overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. And that's also honestly why I just started talking through it, because I just had to get it off. I was so overwhelmed. And I can't be the only one. I'm not, because I'm finding things. I'm finding other people like me, which is also so affirming. I'm finding other people like me. Okay, let me just stop it here. Okay, all right, that's it. That's all. I love y'all.